Mrs. M. Priyadarshini, ME MBA, is doing PhD, is currently working as teaching fellow in the Department of IST, Anna University, Chennai. She completed a master's in software engineering from Anna University. She has about 10 years of experience in handling courses for UG and PG. She was serving as technical evangelist for corporate over 4 years in Java Enterprise Technologies, software engineering, databases, OOAD, and design patterns. She is proficient in handling IT projects as well into concept development for enterprises. She is doing a research in the area of web services security. Her other areas of interest include software engineering, OOAD, databases, enterprise technologies, and service-oriented architecture. She holds many journal publications and conference proceedings in her research area.
Welcome to UGC lecture series in Computer Science, Java Part 29. So, in this session, we are going to discuss about applet lifecycle and few sample applet codes. So, first we will see what is an applet. So, applet is a panel that allows interactions with a Java program. Applet is embedded in a web page and can be run from a browser. A HTML page is embedded with an applet tag to tell the browser about the applet code. So far, the applications that we have seen is an application which receives an input from the keyboard, and then we have seen applications which receives input from the GUI components. So, GUI components, we have seen a set of components under AWT package and a set of components under Swing package. But whereas all these GUI components are created to be run on a particular standalone machine. So, for example, I am having a Java application which need to be run on a standalone system or standalone machine where you have your database, where you have your user interface, your client program. So, your client program is going to receive the input from your user and then it is going to save the data in the database, or your application may be for some mathematical calculation or so on. Whereas here applet is meant to be a Java program which is loaded on a browser. So, a Java code which need to be loaded on a browser. So, the components will be loaded on a browser instead of directly creating a Java GUI component which runs as a standalone application. So, you can see that an applet is a type of panel. So, whereas what we do is an applet page, an applet Java page is created and it is embedded inside a web page. Next is we can create a HTML page and you can embed an applet using an applet tag inside that particular HTML page. So, most modern browsers support Java 1.4 if they have appropriate plugin. So, in that case your applets could be very well loaded on that particular page. So, Java provides a standalone program called Applet Viewer to run the applets. In general, applets could be created so as to run on any browser. So, whenever your browser could support Java 1.4, it means that it can automatically support your applet. So, your applet program can very well be loaded on that. Then next is we have a Java program called Applet Viewer which could run an applet by having a browser of Java itself. It is not a common browser such as your Internet Explorer or Netscape Navigator or so on. So, Java itself provides a program Applet Viewer which could have a browser by itself. Next is in general applets could be created so as to run on any browser, whereas we can use this particular applet in any of the browsers. It is not a restriction that you could run only on Applet Viewer. So, if you have very less number of components, you can very well use Applet Viewer and load your components and you can visualize your web page. So, you write an applet by extending the class is just a class like any other class. You can even use it in applications if you want. So, we know that whenever we write a Java frame or whenever we try to write a window, your dialog, whatever may be the class, we have a base class and we derive the base class. Similar to that, we have an applet base class which could be derived and then you can use that particular applet code as your Java application that you are going to use. Next, when you write an applet, you are only writing part of the program. The browser supplies the method. So, whenever you are writing an applet program, it is just going to be embedded within an HTML page. So, it will be only part of your program. So, here we can look into the hierarchy of the applet. So, java.lang.object. So, from that we have seen AWT component, then we have seen AWT container, and we have seen a container panel. So, applet is a type of panel. So, your applet is a type of panel and it always needs another container on which it has to be loaded. So, for example, we have JFrame. We normally have panels which could be loaded on a frame, and if it is in case of JFrame, by default your JFrame has a panel called content pane. So, normally what we do, we call the method of get content pane and access the pane, and then we load the components on that. So, panel cannot exist on its own. So, it needs some other container. So, here what they have done is your applet is a type of panel, so which could be loaded on a HTML page. So, now your panel, that is your applet, will be loaded on a browser page, that is on a web page. So, here you can see a sample applet. So, your package that you need to load is java.awt.start. So, here we have a graphics class that has been used, that is available in AWT package, and we have extended the applet class, so which is available in java.applet package. So, public class, I am creating my applet which extends the applet which is available in the applet package. So, and we have a method called paint, public void paint. You are overriding the paint method. So, this paint method is already available in the applet class that is available in your java.applet package. So, the parameter that we pass is graphics object. So, on this graphics object we are going to do certain operations such as drawing something, you are writing some text on it. All these operations could be done on this graphics object. So, you can see here we have g.drawString method in which we have a string, and then we have your x position and y position where this string has to be displayed on that particular applet. So, now I open a notepad. In the notepad I write this applet code, and along with that I can write this comment. This is multi-line comment in which I have a HTML tag which is nothing but my applet tag. So, I have an applet tag and then I give the code of the applet. So, the class file where my particular Java code, that is your applet, resides. So, I specify the width, I specify the height. So, here this particular comment will not be compiled by your Java compiler. So, whenever I compile this particular program using Java compiler, this is considered as a comment and this lines will not be compiled. Whereas, whenever I use applet viewer, whenever I go in for applet viewer never worries about the other lines of code, whereas it only considers this multi-line comment. So, this considers only the HTML code, it only takes the applet and then inside the applet it like try to fetch the class file that is specified in the applet tag, and that class file should be available in the same folder, that is in the same package. Then only you can access that particular class file within your applet tag. So, your applet tag as well as that is your HTML page when you create it, and then you embed your applet, and then your Java class file, both should be available in the same package. So, once I create a notepad, in the notepad I have typed all these contents and then I try to compile it using javac firstapplet.java. So, I am just trying to compile this. So, once I compile, I get a class file with name firstapplet.class, and then next I try to run the program by executing the program called applet viewer. So, applet viewer program, and then I give parameter the Java file name in which I have the applet tag been embedded. So, you have seen that in the applet firstapplet.java file I have embedded the applet tag. So, wherever normally I run a particular Java program, I run it using Java and then the class file name, not the Java file name. While I compile, I give the Java file name, and then while I run the program, I have to give the name of the class file where I have the main method. Whereas here the entire thing is different. Here we have an applet viewer program. In this applet viewer program, I am directly giving the Java file name where my applet code is embedded, and this applet viewer will only take the applet code, and then this applet code will in turn point to this particular firstapplet.class file that has been created while compiling using javac. and then that particular panel, that is your applet, will be loaded on a browser page. So, you can see here we have the applet that is being loaded by your applet viewer as a browser page. And the other thing is, this is just your applet is only going to occupy this space, that is your pane. So, and then this is loaded on the browser window. So, this is a sample applet program. So, the other way is what you can do is, so I already told you, you can put everything in a notepad, you can compile using Javac, and then you can run using applet viewer. So, the other way what you can do is, you can write your Java program separately, and then I store it as .java with .java extension, and then you can have your HTML tag separately in form of HTML page, and then this HTML page could be open as such you open any other HTML page on the browser. So, you can use any type of browser to open this particular HTML page. So, the same output what you have visualized using your applet viewer, you can view it on a different browser, whereas applet viewer is Java's own browser and you cannot load extensive components, more number of components on that. Whereas in case of browser specific, you can have whatever type of components on your browser. So, next we will have a look on what are all the applet lifecycle methods we have. So, you can see here we have public void init method, we have public void start method, stop method, destroy method and paint method. So, this is the order in which they get executed. So, init is called, then your start, then your stop, destroy. So, for paint we are passing graphics object as a parameter. So, the other methods that is available in your applet are repaint and then update method, show status method and get parameter method. So, all these methods are not lifecycle methods, whereas this could be called in between your applet execution. So, here you can see why an applet works. So, you write an applet by extending the class applet. An applet defines methods, all the init methods, start methods, stop, paint and destroy. So, these methods do nothing, they are stubs. So, these are not going to do any execution logic, and all these methods are overridden. So, in your base class called applet, we have all these methods been coded and we are just trying to override all these methods for your new applet that you are going to create. So, first is your init method. So, this is the first method to execute. So, here is your initialization process. So, it is an ideal place to initialize the variables. So, here you can define all your GUI components that need to be loaded on the page, and then you can specify the layout and even you can add listeners to them in your init method. So, whenever you have a Java program, we normally have constructors in order to construct the object. So, here we are trying to construct the applet, object of an applet, and all your initialization should be done in your init method. So, this will be called only once during the execution of that particular applet. So, in this case all initialization could be done, and since it is an GUI application, you can load all your components, your component creations, everything could be written inside your init method. So, in your frame, whenever you have a constructor of the frame, on the constructor of the frame, we try to load all the components, all the GUI components that you try to load. Similar to that, we can use init as a constructor where you initialize all the variables of that particular applet. So, almost every applet you ever write will have an init method. So, whenever you write an applet, for sure you should have an init method. So, it is a mandatory method that should be available in the applet in order to initialize variables or initialize components. So, if you do not have such method, it means that your applet does not have any variables or components that is available. So, otherwise we only use applet to display something to the user. In that case, that is a rare case where you only display the content. So, in your first applet, we have seen that we are just trying to display something on that where we have not specified any init method. So, next is your start method. So, this is an optional method. So, this is called after the init. So, this is called each time the page is loaded and restarted. So, you can see that in your applet, you have a menu in which you can call this start method again and again. So, whereas your init method is called only once, whereas your start method, if I want to reload my particular applet again. So, for example, I do a particular logic, and after I perform a particular logic, if I want to reload it, then I could just call the start method. So, in that case, your init method will not be executed. So, now we will have a short break and then we will proceed with other lifecycle methods of applet. Welcome back after the break. So, we are discussing about the life cycle methods of applet. So, now we will proceed with the other applet life cycle methods. So, as we have seen, start method is the method which is called multiple times, whereas your init method is called only once during the initialization process. So, after initialization, if at all I need to change any contents which is displayed on the applet, so in that case I can again call the start method. So, next is your stop method. So, this is again optional method. So, this is called when the browser leaves the page. So, whenever I am trying to leave the page and then I am going to load any other component or any other page, so then this particular method is called. So, this is called just before destroy method. So, your stop has to be called before you destroy that particular applet. So, whenever I try to destroy the applet, I completely remove my applet from my memory. So, in that case, I have to call stop method and then I have to call the destroy method. So, next is your destroy method. This is again optional method. This is called after stop. So, this is used explicitly to release the system resources like thread. System resources are usually released automatically. So, if this is an optional method as told, if I don't want this particular destroy method to be called explicitly, right. So, in that case your system's resources will be deallocated once I close my applet, whereas if I want to stop, so for example, in my applet I am executing more number of threads. So, in that case I have to explicitly call this destroy method, deallocate all my resources, then come out or then close my applet and then I have to come out. So, you can see here your initial process is init. So, this is called once, and then your start method, and then you have to do any execution, any particular logic on your applet. Then after you perform your particular logic, you can stop and then again you can come to start position, and then finally you come after destroying it. So, you can see your init and destroy method are called only once. Your start and stop are called whenever the browser enters and leaves the page. So, I have various applets, or the same applet has to be again repainted with some other contents. Just what I can do is I can call my start and stop again and again. Next is my work, what I need to do. It could be a normal execution logic, or it could be some work which could be performed by the listeners. So, we already have seen you can also load components on this AWT. Once I load the components will have listeners, and there will be certain work that will be executed on executing events on that particular components. So, paint is called when the applet needs to be repainted. So, whenever I want to change the contents that is displayed on my applet, just I can use my paint method and repaint it. So, here this paint method is needed if you do any drawing or painting other than just using your standard GUI components. So, this paint method is specific. Whenever I call my init, I load all the components, whereas whenever I call this paint method, other than my GUI components, whatever the contents that I display on the page could be included inside your paint method. So, here instead of directly calling the paint method, we normally use repaint method. So, whenever I call, I should not call as paint, whereas I should call it as repaint. So, we will see what is repaint method. So, call your repaint when you have changed something and want your changes to be displayed on your screen, that is shown up on your screen. So, repaint is a request, it might not happen. So, this is not for sure it will happen. So, this is just a request. So, when you call repaint, Java schedules a call to update method. So, whenever I call the repaint method, automatically your repaint will call the update. So, we never directly call the paint method, we only call the repaint method. On calling your repaint method, so your update method will execute. So, it means that already I have a graphics object with all the set of contents, and then I am trying to reload that particular graphics object again with new contents. So, when you call your repaint, the Java schedules a call to update graphics method, where update does. So, first your update fills the applet with background color and then tries to what you have done in your paint method or in your repaint method. So, it means that your applet will be filled with the background color, and by default this also has a set of components, and then after filling your background, then only your paint method is called. So, what code that you have written in your paint method will be executed. So, update will try to update the foreground as well as your background. So, you can see here few simple graphics methods that you can use. So, I can use graphics object dot draw string and draw a string, and I can draw a rectangle. I can specify my xy positions and then width and height. Similarly, I can fill the particular rectangle that I have drawn, and then I can draw oval, and then I can fill the oval by specifying the width and height of the rectangle inside which your ellipse, that is your oval, need to be drawn. So, here we can look at few other useful methods. One is system.out.println string s. So, you can use this system.out.println in case of your applet viewer. So, it works for applet viewer, but it does not work for a browser. So, inside your browser this system.out.println will not work, whereas inside your applet viewer. So, if I am running my program using applet viewer, very well this could be used. If I am trying to open this particular, load this particular applet on a browser, then in that case my system.out.println will not work on that. So, next is show status of the string. So, this method displays the string in the applet status line. So, this will display the string at the end. You would have noticed whenever you are trying to load the applet, you have a status. So, applet is initialized, applet is not initialized, you have error. All these information is done using your show status method. So, this is the method which is used in order to give the status of your applet. So, we can see few applications. So, UI components can also be created in other applications in the other applications already. So, whatever the applications that you create using normal Java could be created using this applet. So, only difference is this could be loaded on a browser and it could be viewed. So, this could be further used for your web applications, whereas normally in your standalone applications we never use this particular applet. And if you want to access the files from applet, it must be a trusted applet. So, we have an option called trusted applet. So, that is the reason why applet is not widely used in all web applications, because applet has a Java code which is embedded within itself. So, in that case there is a possibility that some malicious code could be inserted inside an applet while loading an applet. So, just you can give a trusted applet options and then you can create your applet variable. So, in that cases you can access some file contents and all, because normally your applet is not allowed to access the resources from your system. So, you can see here this is normal structure of HTML page. We normally have head and body part. So, inside your header part you can have all the metadata that is needed in order to process your particular web page, and then inside your body we need to specify what content that need to be displayed on a particular HTML page. So, your HTML header tag will give the information regarding how you are going to process your particular page. So, similar to that of your scripting, what you have done with respect to the page, your JavaScript as well as your CSS, all these information could be added on the header content, whereas in your body you will have only the contents that need to be displayed on the browser. So, your most HTML are tag containers. So, you have more number of HTML tags, that again could also be a container. One particular tag could be a container. So, you can see here body tag is a container where you can load few other string, your other components, your text box, all those contents. So, a container is, you can say that as a tag. So, here you can see the HTML page in which we have header, title, and then inside your body you just embed this particular applet code. Inside this applet tag I can specify the Java program, that is your class file where your applet is available. This already we have seen. We also have an option called param tag. So this param tag has a name value pair. So I have the name and then I have the value of a particular parameter. So during runtime you can pass a parameter to an applet, which could be used inside your initialization or which could be used inside whenever you do some work on the particular applet. So here you can see there is a sample. So the same applet that we have created previously, and you can see here I am trying to parse the particular value that is passed as the parameter to my applet. So I am calling getParameter method inside the applet, and then I am specifying the parameter name. So the value that is being assigned or passed inside your applet tag will be fetched here, and this will be converted into integer and it will be stored in n now. So you can see here I have used for I is equal to 0, I have initialized and then 10, and then I have written the update that I need to do for each execution, and then I am constructing a string in which I give I, then a tab, then a particular special character, my tab, and then n value which I have received as the parameter from my applet, and then I am trying to construct a string which is going to print me with the table of a particular value that I have passed as the parameter through my applet. So then I am calling graphics object drawString method. I am trying to draw the string with at a particular x and y position. So here you can notice that your x position doesn't change and you have to print it on next line, and then so I have only changed my y values for each execution. So for each execution my string is constructed and my drawString is executed. So once I execute this program, here I told you that this is an applet and this is your HTML page where this applet is embedded. Just I can go to any of the browser, just I can open this particular HTML page where I could load this particular applet. So I am loading this particular applet. So you can see here, so we have an applet being created. So this is what is your status, and then here this is the menu bar. So inside your menu bar normally we have an options in order to start, stop, your destroy, all these methods will be available in this particular menu bar, and then you can see the contents, the drawStrings graphics object drawString method is executed these many times with all the value, whereas this 5 is nothing but the value which I have passed as the parameter for this particular applet. So the same applet could be used for any execution or any extensive execution, or what I can do is I can have all my GUI components that could be loaded on that, and then all the events and all the listeners could be done as such you do in a normal standalone applications. So only difference between your standalone application and this could be put as a page on the web, whereas your standalone application could only be loaded on a normal standalone system with your JDK. So here we need to have a browser support, we need to have a server provided. You are going to link your applet with that of your any of your server side code. So and then whenever I say an applet viewer, it means that it's Java's own applet, Java's own Java program, whereas if it's browser you can get a help of any browser and you can load this applet. And with respect to security, applets is not widely used because we have a piece of executable that is available inside a HTML page, whereas normally whenever you write a HTML page you will only have the HTML tags being inserted. We don't have any executables that is embedded inside your HTML page, unless otherwise it's an JSP page or your ASP page or it's a PHP page. So in all the other cases you have some server side code which is embedded inside a HTML. In case of pure HTML we don't have any executables that is inserted inside, whereas in case of applet we load these executables inside your HTML page. So this is particularly used only within the organization. So that is, it's used only in the intranet type of applications, not in internet type of applications where your public is involved in sending requests and response. So if it's within an organization you can very well use applet, and in your applet you can load your AWT components, your AWT events and your AWT listeners. So similarly here we have only seen about applet. In Swing also we have an option called JApplet where you can load all the Swing components which is embedded with your all your AWT components, and then you can have event handling mechanism and listeners. So as a summary, we have seen what is an applet, what are all the applet lifecycle methods and sample applet code and how your applet could be created. So, from this session we could be able to answer questions such as what are applet lifecycle methods, differentiate between paint and repaint methods. So, what is the use of param tag in applet? So, in your forthcoming session we will be discussing about how to load all your GUI components on your applet and how to create your JApplet, and then we could also see all event handlers or your listener classes. So, thank you.